Hi everyone, and welcome to another baking video. I am so excited about this one because today we're going to be making salted caramel cheesecake pie. Yes. So originally my plan was to make this into a traditional cheesecake using a springform pan, but then I realized that I am completely out of parchment paper and it is a very important step to line that pan with parchment paper before making it. So I thought we'd try something a little bit new. I actually have not tried this yet before. So I'm really hoping that for my sake and your sake that it works out, but I have a really good feeling about it. So ultimately we're gonna end up with a nice crust on the bottom, the cheesecake filling, and salted caramel sauce on top. And as always, it's 100% vegan. So before we get to the recipe, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already, ring the notification bell, and then you guys will know when my next video is out. All right, the first thing that we're going to make is our oat crust. So I am using my Cuisinart, and if you do not have one of these Cuisinarts, you can also use a blender or a NutriBullet, just something that can grind up the oats and combine all the ingredients together. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is get our oats into a nice grinded up oat flour. So I'm just going to throw these in here. And I'm actually gonna stop here, even though it's not super fine. I think it's grinded up just enough and it'll actually have a little bit of texture. Next, I'm gonna add in the brown sugar, our little bit of salt, and lastly, the melted coconut oil. And you could also use some melted vegan butter. Okay, so now we're just going to blend all of this together. All right, so this looks perfect. This is exactly what you want. You just want to be able to pinch it with your fingers and know that it's going to hold together as you press it down in our, in this case, pie plate. Okay, so I just grabbed my pie plate from the freezer, and that's because I, like I said earlier, have no parchment paper. So ideally, I think it would be best to kind of have a circle of parchment paper sitting in the bottom. You can grease the bottom first with some coconut oil, put the parchment down and grease the top. But of course I don't have any. So what I did was I just greased this with some coconut oil and I did a really nice kind of thick layer of it. And then I popped it into the freezer just because if you've ever used coconut oil, it melts at room temperature very easily. So by freezing it, it just makes sure that you get that nice even layer of coconut oil everywhere and that it's not going to actually melt into our crust as we're pressing our crust into the pie plate. And the other thing I wanted to mention was I always double the amount of melted coconut oil that goes into the crust. So instead of 2 tablespoons, I'm using 4 tablespoons. So I'm going to link the recipe for this cheesecake below, but I'm also going to write out the ingredients and measurements that I have used specifically to make my version. I'm just using my fingers to pat and spread this out nicely. And we're just gonna try to aim for a nice even layer here that goes slightly up the edges. I have all of the ingredients that we're gonna need to make our cheesecake filling. I just wanted to make a little note here that the recipe requires soaked cashews. Typically, if I know that I'm gonna make this cheesecake the day before, I will actually just boil some water, put the cashews in a bowl, and pour the boiling water over top just to cover them and let them soak overnight, just to make sure they're really soft. But if you're like me and you tend to forget to do those things ahead of time, not to worry, I have a great method for getting your cashews to be nice and soft as if they were soaked overnight without having to do that. So what I do is I will just put my cashews into a small saucepan, cover it with water, and I will put it on the stove to boil for a few minutes, about 2 to 3 minutes. And this is with the lid on, and then I will just turn the heat off and set the timer for 20 minutes. And in that time, they will become nice and softened. So then you'll just drain them, pat them dry before using them. So I actually just did this now, so you will see that it works perfectly. They'll be able to grind up really nice and soft. Also, if you're lucky enough to own a Vitamix or just a really powerful blender, you don't have to worry too much about the soaking time because the blender is going to blend them really smooth anyways. Okay, let's get started with our cheesecake filling. All right, the first thing that I'm going to add is my vegan cream cheese. I actually made this one myself. I will definitely link the recipe below. It's a really great recipe, but you can use any store-bought vegan cream cheese. Next, I'm using some tofu. Now, the recipe calls for soft tofu, but I only had extra firm. So if our batter is a little bit too thick, I'm just gonna add in a splash of plant-based milk. In my case, I'm going to put in some coconut milk, so we'll just wait till the end to see if we need that. Next, we've got our white sugar, then our soaked cashews. And lastly, I've got the lemon juice and lemon zest here. And this is going to give it that really nice cheesecake flavor. All right, so we're gonna blend this up until it's really nice and smooth. As you can see, it's a little bit on the thicker side. It's not really a pourable batter at this point, so I'm gonna add a little splash of coconut milk. There we go, that's much better. You want it to be more of a pourable, smoother, little bit looser batter. To make the caramel sauce, you just need a small, clean saucepan, and we're going to add the sugar over medium to high heat. And this is a dry caramel method, so we're not going to be adding any water. So in this case, you're going to want to just stir your sugar, and when you start to notice that it's melting, you want to just keep stirring it until it all melts, and this may take a little while. You'll start to notice that as the sugar dissolves, it will start turning a golden color. And don't worry about those little lumps of sugar, they will dissolve eventually. Once your sugar is pretty much dissolved, you can put your coconut milk in another saucepan on the heat just to warm it up. As you can see, the sugar is turning a nice amber caramel color. And you just want to take it to a deep amber color, and just note that when you look at the caramel in the saucepan, it will always look darker. So it's helpful to look at the caramel sauce as it's running off the spatula to see its true color. Now just be very careful not to take it too dark, because if you burn the sugar, it will taste really bitter. So once the caramel is the color that you want it, you can slowly add in the hot coconut milk. Be very careful. Do this off the heat because you'll notice it's going to bubble up a lot. So just be really careful and take a step back when you're pouring in the coconut milk. So we're just going to keep stirring in the coconut milk until the bubbles kind of die down. And then we're ready to add in all of the coconut oil and just stir it until it's completely melted into the caramel sauce. And then we're ready to transfer it into another bowl and add in our salt and just whisk this to combine everything. And then you can just place it in the fridge and let it cool up while the baked cheesecake cools off as well. Okay, so at this point there are a couple of options. You could either leave the caramel sauce off to the side and you could just drizzle it over each slice as you serve it to your guests or to yourself. Or you can just simply pour the caramel sauce directly on top of the cheesecake. As well, you can obviously skip out on the salted caramel sauce altogether and just top your cheesecake with some fresh fruit, berries, chocolate sauce, or just enjoy it as it is plain. So I'm going to go with just pouring the caramel sauce directly over the entire cheesecake. So let's do that right now. Okay guys, so I have to show you what happened. I'm so upset, but obviously it's not the end of the world. So I was just about to put the pie on this cake stand here, and I had just sliced up 2 slices. I was just gonna leave them on the table, and I was basically about to say that this was a huge success and that the whole pie worked out and I'm so happy. And then there was just like a catastrophe. So instead what happened was I had this cake stand just back there on the little table, and so I was moving it onto the main table here. And because the pie plate is obviously made of glass and the cake stand is slippery, so then the pie plate just slid right off of the cake stand onto the table, and I went to reach to grab it and I couldn't get it in time. So it fell on the floor. As you can see, there's glass everywhere. And I'm so upset because that was my absolute favorite pie plate. As well, I broke one of these antique dishes of mine. So I have 2 plates like this, and now I have 1. So that just goes to show you not everything goes as planned. Yeah, my pie's on the floor, and I guess I should be just happy that I have at least 2 slices of it. I don't think I'm gonna be trying to eat the rest of it considering there's glass shattered. Okay, but I still wanna let you guys obviously know how the cheesecake turned out and tastes. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'm gonna cut into it. It's like the perfect cheesecake texture. That is really good. Starting to feel a little bit better about what happened. Okay, so this was a disaster, but this is not. I really hope you guys try and make this. Don't drop your pie like I did. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, and I would love for you guys to subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. And I will see you guys in another video, which hopefully does not end up with everything on the floor shattered, broken, and ruined. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. I'm just gonna go cry now.